Outside of the Echo Chamber, the official I Dream of Indie Games podcast is brought to you by you, the gamer. If you'd like to join our mission to support indie visibility, head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. Greetings, Indie Warriors, and welcome back to what we strive to make the most entertaining and informative indie gaming show on the web. You are tuned in to I Dream of Indie Games outside of the Echo Chamber, and I'm your host, Old Gamer Joe. Joining me this week, we have a new voice, well, at least for the podcast, and a newer voice for the channel, too. So welcome, your first episode ever, Ted, and you were just telling me, your first podcast ever. How has this happened? 25 years and no podcasting.
Hello. Yeah, I don't know. It's just never come up, I guess. I've always been a written word kind of guy, but now I'm a voice kind of guy as well.
Well, our mission here at I Dream of Indie Games is to celebrate the indie gaming scene, shining a light on its talented developers and publishers. We bring you daily reviews, first impressions, top 10 lists, the biggest sales, and of course, this very show outside of the Echo Chamber. So a huge thank you to all of you who are listening out there. Remember, patreon.com/idreamofindiegames if you would like to support our mission for indie visibility further. You'll get Discord access early, ad-free shows, shout-outs at the end of every video we produce, and of course, this very podcast 3 days early. Everybody else gets the show each and every Thursday. It's on Spotify, YouTube Music, and our YouTube channel. So, in this episode, as we do, we will dive into the latest indie gaming news. We're going to share our recent gameplay adventures, present today's question of the day, and of course, let you know what you can expect the week ahead on the channel. Our topic this week, it's going to be all about social media and the impact that we think it's had on gaming throughout the years, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But before that, like I mentioned, Ted is new to the show. He's new to the channel. Ted, I'd like to get to know a little bit about your history, how you came into games media. We were just talking off the podcast a little bit about your college career and how you decided you were going to get into music. So just a little bit of a rundown so the folks out there could learn a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I started my career as a musician studying music, and quickly kind of just ended up, because I've always been passionate about writing since I was a kid. I was always annoying English teachers with short stories and stuff like that, which of course they didn't want to read because they were too busy marking papers. But I've always been passionate about the written word since I was a kid. So after I graduated, started looking for writing jobs, ended up writing for a jazz and blues blog, and kind of one thing led to another, and now I've been writing for a Game Rant for a couple of years, and recently saw the opportunity to join this channel, which I was a fan of. I was always watching reviews from you guys.
There seems to always be kind of this crossover between musicians and gaming media. So how did you kind of make that transition? Were you always kind of a gamer, or was music kind of what you were focused on, or were you planning to get into games at some point too?
I mean, music was like naturally part of my household, but I get what you mean. I feel like at least half the people I meet, especially game development, I don't know if you know many game developers, but there's a lot of game developers that are also musicians, which is, I guess, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, played games since I was, before I can remember. Like PlayStation 2 was my first actual gaming experience, probably, like kind of old 3D platformers and Burnout and stuff like that. And I've been playing games pretty much ever since. It's just been one of my main forms of escapism. Between that and, like I said before, like always loving writing stories and stuff, the transition was kind of easy. Like games, working in something in the games industry, games media, and doing something with writing has always been floating around in my head. So as soon as I graduated and was like, oh, there's a writing job and related to music, great. And then I was like, oh, wait, I can write about games? Okay, cool. And it was very natural.
So with you reaching out to us here at I Dream of Indie Games, was there something specifically about indies that called to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I've probably been playing indie games for about 10 years. And I mean, the channel spotlighting indie games, true indie games, and by that I mean a lot of games that really just don't have a lot of visibility, was like a big thing for me, especially because as somebody that has tried to make games as well. I know how how tough it is to actually get a finished product, and B, like how hard developers are working to, especially like people that are solo, to get people to actually play their game. Like even a couple of hundred people to play their game. It's not an easy task.
It's amazing, isn't it, how many games you see that are on Steam and they have maybe 10, 20 reviews, 30 reviews, just what a struggle it is. And that's where a channel like ours is very important, I think, for getting those games out there and giving them some visibility.
Well, exactly.
Like
I believed in, believed in the mission of the channel, really, and was a fan. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, nice. I got to try for that. Get on board.
So with that said, you've been playing indie games for a pretty long time. Can we hear like some of your favorites, some of the ones that inspire you, or some of the ones you enjoy the most?
Yeah, so I mean, I've written a few down here. A couple of them are probably pretty cliche, but I'll give you, like a couple of classics. Bastion. I arrived way too late. I got to tell you, it's aged well. If you haven't played Bastion, you should play it. It's pretty short.
It does hold up very well, yeah.
Yeah. Hotline Miami, of course, is a classic.
One of my favorites.
Yep. Yeah, love it. Love being able to get extremely frustrated and then instantly restart and go straight back in.
Isn't that so great with that game, right?
Yeah.
You're pissed off for that 1 second, and then you realize you're just right back in the action.
Also, just like an excellent flow state as well. It's immersive, but you're just looking at like some really kind of like derpy top-down guys running around. Like it's almost rudimentary, but it's like, oh my god, when I'm playing it, I'm completely focused. More recently, I guess, sorry, like I've there's too many to talk about. Recently, I guess maybe some. These are not like particularly lesser known games, but Wild Frost, my favorite deck builder, probably quite a mean deck builder. Even though it looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. Caves of Cud, better than it looks. If you don't play traditional looking roguelikes, like tile-based stuff, it doesn't immediately show itself as something that might be exciting. Caves of Cud, the one traditional roguelike that you should try out, especially because you're able to turn off permanent death if you want.
Well, that's always nice.
Streets of Rogue is an amazing co-op game.
Streets of Rogue, great game.
Yes,
great
like
game.
an immersive sim-ish inspirations that just you can kind of like solve problems in different ways, and it's especially fun in co-op. I would definitely recommend Streets of Rogue. Anyway, sorry. I could keep yapping about them, but yeah, like there's so many to talk about.
Not at all. It's good to get a little bit of your background, kind of the games you're into, obviously. Some heavy hitters there. Some of those were very near and dear to my heart. So I want to know, Ted, the transition. You say you wrote for Game Rant, right? But you weren't necessarily doing narrations all of the time. What's that kind of been like here at I Dream of Indie Games, where you do your own recording, you do all the writing? It's a whole different process, isn't it? Have you been able to kind of ease into that, or is it a challenge? Because I think a lot of people out there feel like, oh, it's pretty easy to just sit there and talk about games, but that's definitely not the case, is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely been a challenge, the narration especially. I mean, I'm used to recording my voice and stuff, like being a musician, and I'm used to using audio software, but actually sitting down and narrating a script, and then you write the script and you think it's great, and then you go to write it and you think, oh, this doesn't work like this, or it's too dry, or this is too long and it doesn't flow, and there's a lot of that going on, and especially just trying to speak both clearly so that everybody can understand you, and don't speak too slow, don't speak too fast, and yeah, it's been a challenge. But I think we're on the hopefully on the other side of the biggest challenges anyway.
That's the good thing about when you're starting out, though. You'll get feedback from the audience. We like this reviewer, but they can work on this. They could fix this. And, most people are pretty nice about it. You get your occasional dickhead out there, but for the most part, pretty
for
nice
sure. Everybody's
about it.
been very supportive, definitely.
Because I definitely was terrified when I was first starting out doing narration for reviews or any videos, really.
Definitely. Yeah, especially as somebody that's never done it before. It's definitely hard to be. I mean, when you're really enjoying a game, it's like, man, I have to find stuff that I really don't like about this. Oh, and when you don't like a game, you kind of have to think, okay, how can I like step back from what I'm not enjoying here and actually try to view this in a slightly more objective way, and maybe find some redeeming qualities, and like why maybe people would like the stuff that I'm not liking. And it's anxiety inducing to a degree, because you don't want to turn somebody away from a game, like especially a game that's not necessarily bad but you might not be enjoying. You don't want to turn somebody away from it if there's the potential that that there's an audience that would like it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
you do have to find that balance. It's like, I'm having a not so good of a time with this game, but someone out there is going to like it, and that's a tricky balance to strike for sure. All right then, well, it's been good getting to know you so far, Ted. I've enjoyed working with you up to this point. Obviously, I Dream of Indie Games probably isn't your last stop. Where do you see yourself? Are you going to continue on with games media potentially, or kind of get back on track with music?
I think I always want to be dipping my toe in games media at least, and I'm still looking out for kind of expanding that. But for now, I'm happy where I am. Looking to hopefully get back into music, though, at least as a hobby, because right now I've just not been doing it for a while, and I'm starting to get rusty, and I don't want that, basically. And, in the end of the day, music is something I enjoy. So I do want to get back down there and doing music at some point. But no, for now, I'm definitely happy kind of working on my craft, basically, and hopefully expanding, my possibilities in that area.
Yeah, I kind of look over at my guitar from time to time. I'm like, man, it's been too long since I've played that damn thing. And you just get so consumed with other things, work. And as you get older and older, you realize just how precious time is. And you just don't have the time for those hobbies that you used to always be able to, gosh, back in high school, every day after school, I probably should have been studying and paying more attention to my homework and stuff. Instead, I was playing my bass guitar all the time and working on music and stuff. But you take that time for granted. Looking back on it now, it's like, gosh, I don't get the time to do that stuff anymore. So yeah, I'm with you. I miss playing a lot too. We do have this weird connection, gamers and musicians. It does seem to come together for whatever reason. Let's get into games that we've been playing recently, at least the ones that we can talk about. So I've been playing a title. We're going to be doing a sponsored segment on the channel. It's called Crescent County. Were you a fan of the movie, or have you ever even heard of the movie Kiki's Delivery Service, Ted?
I have heard of the movie. I have not seen it. That's Studio Ghibli, right?
That would be correct, yeah. So, okay, real quick rundown of what that's about, basically. Girl on a broom, magical broom, flying around a village making deliveries. And there's been a few indies that have kind of messed around with this concept over the years. We had Mika and the Witch's Mountain. I think that's still in early access, which was actually quite a fun little indie game. And now we have Crescent County coming up, which I just got to try out. It is a witch broom open world title. So it actually has almost a little bit of a kart racer feel to it at times. You'll go against opponents in this big open world island, and you'll also be making deliveries. So there's all these NPCs scattered across this world. You can go visit them. You can get tasks from them, go from point A to point B. Very early demo. This game is currently being kickstarted, actually. That's how early the demo is, but it is available for everyone to try out now. Are you into cozy games, and do you like the idea of flying around on a magical broomstick, Ted, or is that probably not going to speak to you so much?
I have a complicated relationship with cozy games. I'd
love to hear it.
Yeah, I love the atmosphere. I love the whole vibe. I love, colorful games. I love lighthearted games, but I don't like farming sims. I struggle to find cozy games that have gameplay that I engage with, basically, on a meaningful level. And the issue for me with games is I kind of have to be drawn. I love the world building, and I love narratives, but I have to kind of be drawn in and kept in the game, at least for the first couple hours, with some kind of, gameplay to latch onto, unless it's a 100% story game. And I struggle with cozy games for that reason. But this, I'm just looking at screenshots. I mean, I mentioned Burnout earlier. I used to be a big fan of racing games, arcade racing
Burnout,
games. Anyway,
this is not.
No, I know. But I mean, getting to drive, just and by the looks of it, not just meandering. Then you get to kind of zoom around. This may actually appeal to me. Yeah.
It is. It's really relaxing. It's kind of chill. It's got this lo-fi soundtrack going on. Again, very, very early, but I actually really enjoyed what I played of it so far. But we'll have more details when that video goes live, I think sometime next week. You can also check out the Kickstarter page if it sounds interesting to you. What have you kind of been messing around with, Ted, in your free time? Have you been playing any indies or just kind of over-encumbered with work?
I have an issue where I love so many different kinds of games, and I have always got too many games to play. And I'm always playing, always just bouncing back and forth between them, and then kind of trying to find finding time to play single player games, but then also, time to play with friends as well, because that's a whole different kettle of fish, multiplayer games. But I've been playing all kinds of games at the moment. I mean, okay, I'll speak about two mainly, just because they're indie games. Raven's Watch is a cooperative roguelike, action roguelike, with a dark fairy tale vibe aesthetic going on.
Did that one end up leaving early access, or is it still in early access?
It did. It left early access. It's actually recently been updated. They added Romeo and Juliet, who are two characters.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember playing it early on, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it was definitely in an early state.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird UI things and kind of mechanics that just aren't very well telegraphed to the player, but it is very fun and they've definitely improved it a lot since early access. But yeah, they just recently added so all the characters that you play as are kind of fairy tale-ish or folklore. So you've got like Red Riding Hood and the Pied Piper and Beowulf. But they recently added Romeo and Juliet, who are really fun because they actually are meant to be played cooperatively, and they have abilities that like work together that you can like play off of each other inside of in the game, like in a match of when playing in co-op. So stuff like Romeo will like throw out a rose onto the field that will deal damage, but then Juliet can shoot it with her gun and it does like a different effect, and they have kind of talents that weave together
awesome.
because of that. It's really cool.
I always love when fairy tales kind of mix together with video games. So like going back to the Alice games, I really enjoyed those. Alice and Alice Madness Returns. I don't know if you're familiar with those from American McGee, but I used to love that. Like when the dark fantasy lore kind of mixes into video games. I really like that stuff. But anyways, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. It's great. I love it too. I never did play. I think I actually have heard of that. What's it called again? Sorry, Joe.
So there was Alice, and then there was Alice Madness Returns. They're both obviously based on Alice in Wonderland. So.
I have heard of Alice Madness Returns. I have not played it though.
Very dark take on it.
Yeah. No, definitely recommend Raven's Watch, especially now. And if you did play it and in early access, I would definitely recommend revisiting. It is definitely a game that's best with friends. I mean, you can play it solo, but it definitely feels like a game meant for co-op. And I've been playing a ton of Rimworld recently as well, and just
I've not played it yet. How is it?
It's good. I mean, I played it on and off like throughout its development, and I recently just picked it up again just because I felt like it. But I mean, it's good. It's definitely a game for a very specific kind of player. A lot of idle time and kind of like dying to random events and stuff, and it can be quite punishing, but there's lots of very customizable difficulty options. But I currently have a colony full of people with horrific injuries, so everyone's very upset. It's not great.
Oh, that doesn't sound too good.
It's not. Trust me.
Very cool. So that's kind of what you've been playing. Nothing else in the docket right now? I mean, obviously you have a huge backlog. I know you showed some interest in maybe getting Expedition 33 at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Mike recommended it. Well, I wanted to play it, but Mike was talking about it and really, really liked it. So he convinced me, and I've checked it out. I played through maybe like 5 hours of it.
Oh, you did get it then? Okay.
I did. Yeah, I'm not too far into it. I did let Mike know that it was good so far, though. There's not much I can say that probably hasn't been said about the game. I mean, it's just really good. But as somebody that is not a fan of JRPGs, and I know this is a French game, but somebody that's not a fan of that kind of style of game, I was hesitant despite all the kind of hype around it. But having played it, at least, I mean, take what I say with a pinch of salt because I've only played 5 hours, but I encourage people that don't usually like that kind of game to give it a go because it is very well done.
It is, yeah. Like I was telling Mike on the previous podcast, yes, it is turn-based traditional JRPG style combat, but they really make it interactive in a way where I feel like even fans of action games are going to be more into it. It's very immersive. You have to time each parry and you have to strike at the right moment. So it feels like you're a constant participant in the battles.
Yeah, and it's not just parrying. I mean, there's like the parry, and then you can like dodge attacks as well. And there's I don't want to spoil. I mean, I've only played the beginning of the game, so it's like there's the jump mechanic as well that goes into that, and the fact that sometimes they attack your whole party, and then you got to do something different with that. It is really interactive. You're right, and the UI as well, the user interface during combat, so the way the camera moves. It almost feels like an action game if you play it fast enough. And if like you see people playing it and they're doing the moves too fast, it's like it looks like they're not even thinking, but like you find yourself playing it after a while and you get into like a flow. I mean, I was talking about that with Hotline Miami. This is very similar, where you almost don't feel like you're taking turns anymore. I don't know if I'm over-exaggerating there, but do you know what I mean?
No, I see what you mean exactly. Yeah, it's definitely not like a murder rampaage per se, but yeah, it does have that flow state to it where you kind of just get immersed in it. You want to keep going
wasn't comparing
over and over again.
Directly to
No.
Yeah.
Thematically, though there is some, pretty dark tone to this game as well. So
yeah, that is true. Yeah, even in the very opening section.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've only played about 2.5-ish hours so far, and then I got all this work stuff unfortunately came up and ruined my fun, but I am planning to get back to it very soon. It's one of those things, I think we were talking about this on the Discord, where I'll start a game and then I won't play it for like a month or so, maybe even longer, and then I'll be like, shit, I gotta start this whole game over again because I don't remember any of this.
That's exactly what I do. Yep. And then it's just a vicious cycle of playing the first hour over and over and over again. Some games I know really well, but only I could review the first hour of I can't think of any off the top of my head, but Yeah.
And you're going to find that's tricky when you're reviewing RPGs on the channel because you really have to sit there and play for hours and hours and hours. And you've got to kind of have everything locked in your head at the same time. There's a lot of systems to RPGs and stuff like that. They're tough reviews for sure. But you mentioned you're not a JRPG guy usually, so maybe you won't be reviewing those games so much. But,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Expedition 33 will send me down a rabbit hole, but I feel like it's probably quite a unique beast.
All right. With that said, what do you say we hop into some indie game news stories? We have an unexpected sequel here. I say unexpected because I didn't realize the original Nocturnal actually caught on with much of an audience, but apparently enough to get a sequel here because we are in fact getting Nocturnal 2. This comes from Games Press. Quote, indie game developer Sunnyside Games is happy to reveal the first gameplay trailer for their upcoming Metroidvania, Nocturnal 2. The game is set to launch later this year on Nintendo Switch and Steam, offering non-linear exploration through a city plunged into deep slumber. The main objective, awaken the city from its sleep. To break the puzzle of the city of Tash, players must recover the scattered verses of a forgotten poem and carry the flames across the entire city, relighting everything in their path. So I don't know if you played the original, Ted. I actually did. I believe we have a video on the channel, if I recall. Forgive me, there's like thousands of videos. There's all these games running around my head, but I remember really liking Nocturnal quite a bit. It was very bite-sized as a Metroidvania. It only took a couple hours to get through, but the main mechanic of the game involved you using flame to light your way, and the fire effects in this game were incredible. So I don't know if you played Nocturnal, like I said, but I'm excited about a sequel.
I did not play the original. I actually hadn't even heard of this game, but looking at the Steam page, it actually looks kind of up my alley. And I also definitely looks very atmospheric. The first game you said had a unique mechanic to it?
Yeah. So basically, flame was the key to the game. You would use flame to light the path forward so that you could actually see what was in front of you. You have to constantly keep flames lit across the map to solve puzzles and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So it was all based around fire. Yeah, it was really cool. So I don't know if I was going to say, I don't know if you were into Metroidvania titles, but it's definitely a Metroidvania at its heart, but with that unique mechanic.
Hollow Knight is a favorite indie game of mine, but I didn't want to mention it earlier because I never actually managed to beat it. So I hesitate to call it a favorite, but it is a great game, and I love Metroidvanias. So yeah, I mean, I actually might be checking this out. It's going on the wish list, but
I should have noticed from your Discord symbol, of course, is Hollow Knight, so I probably should have figured that out now that I think about it.
Yeah, no. The second one looks great as well. I mean, I love the you say something about a poem? That's collecting remnants of a lost poem or something like that is the setup.
Yeah, so that's something I'm curious what they'll do with the sequel because the original game kind of just started to get into things. Again, it was only I think it was like a 4-hour game. It was very, very short. So hopefully they'll be able to expand on some of that stuff. But that's the good news for you, though, or any new players out there. The original Nocturnal doesn't take up much of your time. You'll be ready for the sequel in no time flat.
Yeah, I love short games.
All right, story number 2. This is all about Steam Next Fest. It's kicking off on June 9th. It's going to run through the 15th, so that's coming up in just about, a couple days, depending when you're listening to this podcast. Of course, Next Fest is all about featuring tons and tons of demos. Indie games are a huge, huge part of Next Fest. Ted, I'm curious, are you a demo guy? Do you enjoy Next Fest as a whole? Do you like checking out all these different indies, or do you kind of just wait for the full release? I like messing with a few of them, but I wouldn't say I play hundreds and hundreds of demos like a lot of people do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I come from a generation where, we were still playing demos that came off discs on magazines, so I definitely used to be a demo guy. Don't play that many demos anymore. I mean, I'm busy playing games that I'm already into. I mean, I still look out for other games, but it's kind of like more of a, this game looks cool. I'll keep that, in the back of my mind, and then we'll get to that eventually. But I do enjoy, demos coming back to the forefront. I love that demos are like almost pretty much commonplace now on Steam that games have demos, and maybe Next Fest had almost definitely Next Fest being as big as it is now having a lot to do with that, because I think demos are great. But I have played a few demos, and when Next Fest comes around, I do have a look through the games and try to maybe play a demo or two of something that looks particularly interesting to me. However, as Next Fest has been getting bigger, I find that a lot of big indie games and publishers take advantage of it. It feels like less like very small games getting a lot of visibility and a lot more like the indie space in general getting visibility, which is great still. it's always exciting to see indies of any kind get the spotlight. But I feel like a lot of the time, maybe developers that were hoping to like use the Next Fest to kind of show off their game, it feels like the event is kind of less about that now. I don't know what your experience is with that, Joe.
Well, it's such a crowded space too. When you have hundreds and hundreds of games, how do you pick and choose which ones you're going to play? Thankfully, it does last a good week, so you do get an opportunity to try a lot. And a lot of these games will hang around after the fact. I noticed too, their demos will stay up. Some will pull them, but for the most part, you're able to play them even after the 15th. So yeah, it's a very interesting balance you have here. On one hand, as an indie developer, it's exciting because you're going to get this exposure, but are you going to get this exposure because 100 other games are there too? And those games are potentially a lot bigger than your game. So
I had a peek around how Next Fest works, and a year or so ago, and I was kind of looking into it, and it does seem like the ones that benefit the most from Next Fest. I mean, again, take what I say with a pinch of salt. I am not a professional. This is just kind of like an observation, but it seems as though games that already have a lot of wish lists or games that are potentially already garnering a lot of interest seem to be the ones that benefit the most from Next Fest. As in, it's kind of like it's like the next step rather than the first step, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, if people were excited for your game, naturally they're going to want to check out that demo over.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that's still good. It's definitely still a great event, and again, like I said, it's always exciting to see indies get visibility. So I definitely don't think Next Fest is a bad thing by any means.
And on that subject, something that could be helpful to a lot of you listening out there is the fact that we're going to have a curated list for you of some of our favorite Steam Next Fest demos. So hopefully that will help you organize things a bit and maybe help you understand which games you should check out if you are feeling overwhelmed like so many of us do during Next Fest. So I'm going to try to pick like 15 demos that I enjoy, which is a tricky task because I do want to actually try each of these games too before I go out there and recommend them. So
I mean, thankfully, a lot of these demos are pretty
short usually.
Yeah.
That's the hope, anyways. So
yeah.
Next Fest, the 9th through the 15th. On to our next story here. It's all about the Playdate. Ted, have you picked up a Playdate, or do you have any interest in one yet?
I have not. I do know about the Playdate, though. Being interested in game development, it looks like maybe even a lot of fun to make games on. Well, not on, but make games to play on the Playdate as well. Because, I love minimalist games. I love games that have like arcadey gameplay, and the Playdate, looks kind of built for that, basically.
Yeah, you'll definitely get that with the Playdate. It's very simplistic games. It just has like the crank on it, so everything's kind of easy to play. A little bit gimmicky, but I've enjoyed it so far. I actually do own one. We have covered some of the games on our channel, Season 1, and now the reason I'm talking about the Playdate, Season 2 is about to start. So again, from Games Press, Panic is over the moon excited to announce that Playdate Season 2, their curated mysterious collection of brand new Playdate games that will be released weekly for Playdate owners who purchase the season across 6 weeks, begins today. Playdate Season 2 can be purchased for $39 from Catalog Panic's digital store. Once you purchase the season, your Playdate will give you access to download the first games of the season and will then automatically download future games of the season on Thursdays at 10 a.m. PT, as long as your Playdate is connected to Wi-Fi. Looks like there's going to be 3 games to start out here. Interesting, the first one, Fulcrum Defender. It comes from the makers of FTL, Faster Than Light, and Into the Breach. Are you familiar with either of those games, Ted?
I love those games. Actually, again, you just reminded me, both probably are my favorite indie games, although I've played less of Into the Breach. FTL. Awesome game. Both awesome games.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like it's a good time for you to maybe check out a Playdate here, because the developer is in fact doing this title, Fulcrum Defender. It says you will find your optimal build and perfect your aiming skills to survive in this crank-powered arcade action game. So obviously going to be probably a little bit more simplistic than FTL and Into the Breach were, but definitely comes from a solid pedigree.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Joe, as well.
Yeah.
But didn't Lucas Pope, isn't he making a Playdate game? The developer of Papers, Please?
I think that came out last season, didn't it?
Did it really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
I believe so.
I'm outside of the scene. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
You just reminded me of it.
I remember that happening now. If you want to Google around and find that while I talk about the next game, totally do it so I can shout out what game that was, because I remember it happening now. If Mike were here, he would know right away. The other game this season being released is Dig Dino. It's a game about naturally digging for dinosaur bones and other treasure. Joining a crew of paleontologists at a new dig site, shovel your way down to many incredible discoveries, piece together whole dino skeletons, and analyze strange artifacts, uncovering lost secrets buried deep underground. And then the third game is going to be Blippo Plus. I'm just not even going to talk about that. I can't make sense out of what they're even talking about.
It's developed by Black Square, White Square.
Yeah.
What is that? That is weird.
I don't know. I might have to watch a trailer on that one at some point. But
Good news, though. I found the Lucas Pope Playdate game. It is called Mars After Midnight.
that was it. Okay. You know what? I think I might even actually own it, but I just not tried it yet. I remember hearing it was really good from Mike.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks definitely strange. That's my extremely detailed overview.
All right, story number 4, Iron Meat. It's getting a free update. Of course, we just recently interviewed Retroware at PAX East. You can check out all of that coverage on the channel right now. More Iron Meat. So this was a run-and-gun Contra-style game. It's been very successful for them. It looks like it's going to get a new arcade mode, a boss rush mode, more weapons, and mutations as well. So I'm a big fan of retro throwback run and gun style arcade games myself, Ted. Have you tried Iron Meat? Any interest in it? Is this your genre of choice?
So I haven't played a lot of these games, but I do love them. I mean, the ones that I have played, I played like a lot of these games and I can't remember the names of them when I was younger. But recently I played... You must have played Hunt Down. Have you played Hunt Down?
I've not played it. I've not actually played it, no.
Okay. Might be slightly different than Iron Meat. Hunt Down basically is like classic run and gun, but it's maybe a bit slower paced because has a cover system. It's still 2D and still like nostalgic, but you can kind of like duck into doorways to avoid bullets. I'd recommend checking it out. It's really fun. Yeah, Iron Meat's actually on my wish list. I've been meaning to play this for a bit, but I've got too many games to play, and I still haven't even beaten Hunt Down, which kind of like is an adjacent experience, even though I'm sure.
Yeah, no, Iron Meat is it's really fun, but it got me thinking too. You know, you started out on the PS2. I'm older. I go all the way back to my first console was the NES. So for me,
oh man,
Contra, what I experienced of Contra, the original NES Contra and the arcade game, you probably were in a whole different world of Contra, weren't you?
I don't think I've ever played Contra, to tell you the truth. How long did that franchise go?
There were entries on PS2. I believe it even went into PS3, and they've had a more recent entry. Apparently, we were talking about this at PAX with Retroware, that Iron Meat was able to outsell, or at least get more reviews on Steam, so apparently outsell the newest Contra game, Operation Galuga, that they released, which is pretty wild. So it just shows that this more modern take on Contra isn't resonating with people. They still want the old school NES style, retro pixel art, and all of that. So
it pretty
looks cool. I thought
that
was. It's like it's also kind of insane that this little indie company can outsell a huge franchise. Well, at least what was a huge franchise like Contra.
I think it goes to show there's still an audience for it.
All right, and our last news story for this episode anyways. Devolver Digital, they've announced a date to reveal a new game. Not many details on this one, Ted. I'm a huge Devolver Digital fan. I imagine you're at least into a few of their games. You talked about Hotline Miami, obviously. Ball Pit is going to be the game, The Kenny Sun Story, and it's going to be revealed on June 6th. Of course, we have Summer Game Fest coming up, so there's going to be tons and tons of reveals, and it looks like Devolver's taking a different approach here, focusing on, from what I can tell, one game, but something tells me they have a trick or two up their sleeve where this isn't necessarily going to be about one game. What did you make of this announcement?
I mean, so I've watched Devolver Digital's kind of I don't know what you would call them, not like directs or like announcements,
like their showcases.
Yeah. On and off throughout the years, and this is definitely strange. I feel like you were alluding to it, but it can't just be one game, right?
You would think not. And Devolver likes to play tricks on people and kind of be tricky with their marketing. If you ever followed their Twitter or stuff like that, but they definitely like to kind of mess around with their fans a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, haven't followed people on Twitter in a while, but we'll get to that. But no, definitely know of them. They are definitely quirky in their approach, right? I mean, not one to take the well-trodden path.
Which I guess that is a pretty good segue into our topic of the day, right? We're talking about Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. Yeah. But our topic is all about the impact social media has had on gaming. Has this ultimately been a good thing, a bad thing for coverage, for players, for everybody involved? We're going to get into it for a little while here, and we want to hear your comments down below too, as we read them at the end of every episode. So some of the positives that I have for this discussion here, Ted, because there are positives. I know there's a lot of negativity when it comes to social media. If we post in our community section anything that involves, social media and the effects it's had on gaming, generally, you get a lot of angry people out there that are like, social media ruins everything, blah, 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 so on and so on. But I try to look at the positives too, because this is not really new anymore. Social media has been around for a while, but it is a different way. When I was growing up, you had to market games through magazines. You were talking about like demo discs earlier, how you would get them out of magazines to try these games. It's a whole new ball game now, isn't it? Where you can just send out a message real quick and people can potentially learn about your game. The problem there could be that so many people are doing that, you'll get drowned out. So that is a positive though, potentially. Easy way to market your game, get people hyped up. You have these pressers now we were just talking about with Devolver, where they can easily broadcast directly into your living room. And you have a lot of great communities being built now online too, through forums. You have Reddit that dedicated to specific franchises or specific types of games, and that can breed a lot of positivity too. It's also a unique way for developers to get feedback directly from fans. Obviously, that wasn't quite so easy back in the day, where you had testers and really not a lot of ways to reach out to fans directly like you do today. It's also great for creators like us, obviously, people that want to break into the industry, people who want to be able to talk about games, share their experiences, and connect with other people that way. But some of the negatives, of course, within these communities, you always get a few rotten apples, and that can lead to a lot of angry culture out there, a lot of negativity, a lot of, really nasty stuff. Misinformation gets out there. Lot to discuss here, Ted. Let's hand the mic over to you for a bit before I babble on any longer.
No worries. Well, I mean, I'm not really a fan of social media anyway, just full stop. So I feel like I'm a bit biased towards the negative side of this, of all of it. But I mean, I'll start with the positives because, I mentioned a couple of times trying to get into game development. I think one of the best ways to kind of motivate yourself to get into something, especially creative, is to follow a bunch of people or look at a bunch of people that are doing it and just kind of consume the work in progress. Like, I followed a bunch of devs on Twitter for a while, just to get inspiration and to see, what people were doing and to like watch the process as well. Because as somebody that was still is an aspiring game developer, it's cool to see people like mess around and experiment with their games and show off like stuff that they've added, because it kind of makes you feel more like you can do it, and it makes the whole process seem more grounded, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm getting off topic. Yeah. Anyway, basically, I really enjoyed following devs on Twitter for that reason, and it was just great to mostly that was a really positive circle as well, just seeing people like sharing each other's work. Really cool to see like devs working together as well. Like, it's not uncommon. I haven't been on it for a while, but it wasn't uncommon, at least, to see like devs sharing each other's games and being like, oh man, like check this out. And it's really cool to see indie developers that you're following like interact with one another and share each other's work and just be supportive of each other. It really makes you feel like you're kind of like part of a community.
Yeah, because think about this. Growing up, there was no way to connect directly with these developers unless you knew them on a personal level. So,
but so for that, I think that's amazing. I have no solution in my head that I think would work better. It's just, it's definitely not perfect, and I kind of wish there was an alternative. You're never going to have a space where people share things that is going to have a 100% positive aura around it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be and for better or worse, there's going to be criticism, constructive or otherwise. Otherwise, it's just an advertisement, right? If it's just a positive thing that nobody can interact with and you're kind of gating what can happen, it's just an advertisement. But then, like, you have a space like this, and then, like you were saying before, where it's open and there's all kinds of people. Some people like to complain and be more toxic than other people, and some people like to be really offered like ideas. It's hard.
It's about finding kind of like a healthy balance there. Like, how do we have a discussion where we maybe don't agree with each other, but we don't necessarily have to get toxic about things? That's what being outside of the echo chamber is really all about to me. It's about having civil discussions around games, but not necessarily being volatile about those discussions, and that's a tricky balance. A lot of people just can't handle themselves on the internet and be able to have a civil conversation in that way.
Well, yeah, you don't want like a circle of people patting each other on the back, right?
Absolutely
that's like that's like the other extreme. It's tough. Like, one thing that comes to mind, I don't really frequent Twitch, but I know that, streamers have a lot of, or at least they seem, from an outside perspective, it seems like streamers have quite good control over the kind of stream that they want to run, right? Like they can kind of help to, they have moderators and they have a little bit of control over their chat and like, do you see what I'm saying?
It's sad it has to be that way though, to a degree, isn't it?
Yeah.
Though
it
The
is.
fact
It
that
is
you have
sad,
to
but
constantly be on your toes, moderating, kicking people out for being assholes, pretty much, for lack of a better word. What I would say is, if you look at our Discord community as an example, we don't necessarily always agree with one another. There are debates. There are times where things get, a little bit heated, but it never gets to a level where it's like volatile. And I think that that's really a good thing. If you can have these conversations, if you can get along with each other and agree to disagree, sometimes that makes a big difference in building a very solid foundation and community. So you just don't get that when you have a Twitter feed just full of a bunch of random, it's just a mass of humanity pretty much coming together and spouting out ideas.
It's not categorized or like, it's not moderated, right?
Right. So, for all those positives, there's a negative. So I kind of just end up feeling like we have this weird mixed bag where some things are better today because of social media and some things are a hell of a lot worse. I don't know if
and
you
like
agree
you
with
said
that.
as well. I think I do agree with that. Like overall, again, you mentioned as well, like bloated as well. Speaking for game developers specifically for like showing off their games, I think it's the same problem as Next Fest. You mentioned bloated, where it's like it kind of feels like or at least seems like I followed a lot of devs that were showing off really cool looking games, and you look and see what's going on, and it's like, oh, they released a game that has 10 reviews, and oh, they like have 200 followers. And it's such a shame. And it's cool because they have their own communities with their own really cool like little circle going on. It's just a shame that stuff like that is hidden, but there's just no way around it.
And I guess the flip side to be positive about that is that at least you have the opportunity now to showcase your game. Even if it doesn't ultimately get discovered, you have a chance now. And I don't know if you necessarily had that in the past.
Yeah, like I said, like you mentioned, it's like id Software couldn't start like a social media page and show. I know id Software already going well before Doom, but you couldn't just show like all this stuff to potentially millions of people all around the world at once. It's not like it just isn't that way. Weren't they showing Doom like? Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, like I'm kind of pulling from random memory now, but I'm pretty sure they were showing Doom off to like universities or like getting universities to play it like in like and around computers and stuff like that. Like I know that they had a following already because of oh god, what did they had a run and gun shooter. Don't tell me it's Contra because
even think back to the early days with shareware. That's how you got your message out there. You just gave the game away for free, at least a couple levels of it, and you hoped people
Wolfenstein. I was thinking of Wolfenstein. Sorry.
Word of mouth. You would hope people would pass the game around that way. So just a whole different ball game now. So what do you think? We'll hear from you in the comments below. Has social media been a positive or a negative for gaming coverage, for you, the player, for everything involved? All right, let's get into the comments from last week. Our topic was all about our subscription-based services, the future of gaming. Ted, you weren't here for that episode, but what do you think about subscription-based services? Are you a fan of the Game Passes of the world, the PlayStation Pluses? Any of that stuff speak to you?
I've not used Game Pass because it doesn't appeal to me, but I understand its benefits, and like it's great because I feel like it's maybe another way to discover certain games. I know like an indie game going to Game Pass, if it gets like a banner or something that's like, hey, look, this game's on Game Pass, it's immediately going to get played by more people, right? Even if it's small. But my issue with this is the same reason. I use streaming services like every other person that watches TV or film in these days. But it's the same reason why I miss, like, I would so much rather go back to like video stores than streaming services because there's too much. It's so bloated already. I miss being able to go into a video store. I know we're talking about video games, but this is like the easiest comparison. And I'll get to the games as well. But it's like I miss going into a video store and being able to look at everything physically and be like, my eyes can. I don't know. It's more tactile experience, right? And then
you can read the back. You can kind of get an idea for what's
exactly, and like talk to people about it as well, and see what other people are looking at, and the staff obviously usually have, and it's the same with older. We'll still have them, but how long we will still have video game stores, I don't know. I haven't been in one in ages, and it's a shame because Steam is like a monopoly almost. But like, I miss going to game stores, or like, I'm sure that this is all nostalgia. And in the end of the day, you know, a digital product may be more efficient, but there's something about, you know, lining up for a game at launch, or like going into a store and like browsing for something new, or like you find like an old game that was in a bargain bin and you're like, man, I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, no, there's different kind of excitement, wasn't it?
Exactly. It's so different, and I feel like people are gonna so miss out on stuff. But again, it could just be nostalgia. Maybe you know, that's just a thing of the past.
I think part of it is nostalgia, but I also think part of it is that there was something to be said for those times. You know, the idea of, oh, it's Friday now. The family's going to go out and we're going to pick the latest movie that's on the shelf. We're going to hope it's there anyway. Someone else didn't rent it out. Or we're going to see what games came out, because you didn't have this curated list of releases like you do nowadays so easily. You know, you kind of just saw a random new product on the shelf. And you're like, well, that looks really cool. I think I'll try that one out, and I'll take it home for the weekend and give it a spin. So there is something to that. Yeah, there is the concept of having too much. Whereas back then your selections were limited. You could only rent so many games or so many movies before your parents would tell you no. So.
Yeah, literally. But I miss, this is slightly off topic, but I just want to quickly talk about this. I miss booklets. Do you remember booklets?
Oh, yes. Like instruction booklets, you mean, right?
Yeah, but not even like the good ones. I'm talking about, you know, you get a bit of lore in there, or like, you know, some cool artwork
background
and
of
stuff.
The story and all that. I do miss that.
And if you're a kid, that's the kind of stuff, you know, while, you know, your parents are finishing the shopping trip, you're reading the booklet.
Were they known as booklets in the UK, or we call them more
that's what I'm thinking about.
Instruction manuals here.
Yeah. I'm calling them a booklet. But you know, the thing that's tucked inside of the game box and full of like instructions and stuff, so you know, it expects you to learn how to play the game in the book, you know.
So I'm curious too, with you being from the UK, what was your big like rental store? Because we had Blockbuster Video was like the dominant chain here.
We did have Blockbuster over here as well. Yeah,
you did have it.
Okay. There'd be like other little ones as well that you would go to, like I don't know what you call it in the US. We have off licenses over here, which is like, you know, just like a little shop that has like newspapers and alcohol and bits of food and like random stuff, like just like a little store.
Almost like a newsstand.
Yeah, like a building, like inside it had stuff in it, but it's called an off license. Anyway, it's sometimes they would like have stuff, like I lived near one that had like a tiny little rack of DVDs, and we lived like 10 minutes away, so we would just go and rent from there. But we did have a Blockbuster as well. That was like the major one that was nearby. I was sad when that closed, but I was also quite young. But
off topic too, but I am kind of curious, and I don't get the opportunity to ask people this a lot. But so you being from the UK, when you get American visitors, you know, people that are just tourists or whatnot, do you find us super annoying, or do you like having us there?
I tell you the truth, I feel like I've not seen a lot of US tourists, but
really,
I've not. Yeah, but then again, I don't live near London or anything like that, or only
that's
like
probably
the
where
major
you would
locations.
mostly see them, right?
Yeah. So it's but the few that I have encountered, no. I guess I'm of a generation that I grew up watching US television.
Oh, really? A lot of American media then? Yeah.
Yeah, just lots of stuff like that. I mean, even now, I mostly watch US television mainly because I love British humor. You know, I've grown up around it. I love British TV shows. I love British stuff. But I mean, I find a lot of British TV can be a bit bleak sometimes, and it's just not that the US doesn't have like you know, dramatic and grounded stuff, but like there's a lot of more lighthearted stuff tends to be US. Either way, I'm getting off topic. Point is, I have grown up around like a lot of US speaking things on the television, so hearing an American accent is not annoying to me.
I just always thought if the way I spoke, or, you know, hearing that kind of accent strikes you as odd or unusual.
No, not at all. I mean, if anything, the only weirdness is that I haven't interacted with a lot of American people, so it's mostly American voices coming out of the TV. So it's like, oh, this is weird. I'm like, actually, yeah, I have to register. It's like this is an accent I'm used to hearing from fiction. And it's like, no. This is a real person, Ted. Come on. Like,
anyways, a bit of a tangent there. Didn't mean to go off track, but let's get into a few of the comments. Are subscription-based services the future of gaming? James Paul wrote in and said, I hope not. It seems like a good deal short-term for gamers, but long-term, I don't see how games can be profitable on it. And, you know, that's a fair point. We've seen with Netflix, the prices continue to rise over time. The product doesn't necessarily get better. that is a hurdle that games will face. Because right now, you can't deny, I mean, if you are into a service like this, Game Pass offers value. You get all those first-party Xbox games right away, straight away, for I think it's like $20.
That's tempting.
It's pretty affordable, you know? You're getting a big library of games. If you don't already have a massive Steam library, like so many of us do now, you know, that's probably why it's less attractive to me. The fact that I do have so many games that I've been able to build up on Steam and other online platforms on PC, that it's not as appealing to me. But
yeah, I mean, I'm the same way.
I see why it could be.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's like you say, it's too good to be true. You can just like pay a monthly subscription, and you don't even have to have the problem of a backlog because you're not acquiring a bunch of games you haven't beaten yet. You're just playing the stuff that comes out. I don't know. I feel like people are going to I don't want to get too into it, but I feel like the world is already moving so fast that like having just like a constant stream of games like just passing by, I feel like it's going to be more and more common for people to just like play something for 2 hours and then just forget about it. Like you were saying back in the day, when there was less selection. I mean, I miss having a console for this reason, and I miss physical. Like, I would certainly, or almost certainly, trade like Steam as it is right now for just having like a game store near my house. Because when I was younger, it'd be like, get a game that's just come out, or find one in a bargain bin, and you take it home, and that is the game that you're going to play for like the next 2 weeks to a month, or maybe even longer. Like it just comes into your cycle until you decide you're going to play like an older game. You know, it's like you get as much fun as you possibly can out of it. And it's just a completely different experience. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm going down the nostalgia route here, but
I do feel like I understand where my parents were coming from back in the day now, where they would always say like, oh, back in my day, things were different and they were better. And now I kind of feel that way. I totally get it. And like, yeah, back in the day, things were simpler, things were easier, I do sound like an old person, but it's true.
I mean, I sound like an old person as well, and I'm 25 years old. It's
exactly
crazy. I mean,
let's do another comment here from Bdanka50. It makes me sad to think about the end of physical games and game stores, but honestly, I play way more downloaded games than physical games these days anyhow, which I do the same. I can't deny that. Yep. The attachment to things and merchandise is not healthy, to be fair, so it's probably okay in the long run for most of us. Well, I think things are fine, but there is the risk of becoming overly attached. You know, back in the day, I was pretty damn addicted to buying video games, which wasn't necessarily healthy either.
I already miss physical products. I mean, I feel like I've yapped about it quite a lot already, but it's like, I miss having a collection of games, not to look at. It's more tangible, and I feel like as well, I get what this user is saying about unhealthy, like materialistic, you know, being a materialistic person and being like, I have to have this physical copy of it, you know, to prove that I own it or whatever.
There is a danger in that for sure.
There is, but also we had trade-ins as well. I mean, if you like, I'm done with these games. I mean, you're not going to get a lot out of a trade-in, but you know, let me recycle some of my collection, and I can recycle 5 of my old games that I don't play anymore or I didn't like, and get a new one. And like, that's part of that experience as well. And you know, sometimes you may have to check a few discs, and sometimes you come home with a disc that has a few burns in it and it doesn't work properly, but that's the trade-off, you know.
That was really your path to getting new games back then. You more or less, I didn't have a job or anything when I was a kid, so you more or less had to trade in to get the newest game. And it's kind of bittersweet looking back on it now. It's like, man, I gave away a lot of great games to get another great game, but I lost that great game in the process of getting the new great game. And it's like this vicious cycle.
One of those people that traded in an original copy of Silent Hill or something like that.
Yes, which I saw for like $50 the other day or something crazy.
Yes,
like it costs today what it cost back then anyway, so interesting.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah. But the I mean, but also just, I mean, this user was saying, you know, they play way more downloaded games than physical games these days.
Don't we all though? I feel like most of us do now.
I mean, yeah, I do, but I'm kind of, this is not what this user was saying, but like personally, I feel like, I mean, you were saying how you were addicted to buying video games.
I was for a good time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that right now. Like I definitely have like shiny object syndrome, where if a game is on sale and it's like a little cool indie game, I'm like, man, this looks really unique and really cool. I got to try this out. And then it just gets added to the backlog. It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is not healthy.
So much easier though in the indie gaming scene where the games are so many sales and they're cheap.
Yeah, and Steam I think makes it way easier as well. It's you see that little green percentage next to the game, you're immediately like, if you're remotely interested in the thumbnail, you're going to click on it because you're like, wow, 50% off, that's crazy. But you go into another reason why I miss physical stores. I feel like if I didn't buy games on Steam, I would buy less games.
Yeah, you probably would.
Yeah,
just out of necessity for life. You can't afford to buy everything.
Exactly. It's I'm at risk of repeating myself for like the 100th time, but yeah.
All right, we got one more comment here. It's from NotesScroats4360. I think we're seeing from Game Pass and Sony and Nintendo's parallel services that the actual market for a Netflix of games is pretty niche. Very few people play a ton of games, and most of the people who are interested in a service like this just like it as a nice-to-have thing, and still carefully curate what they buy and spend their time on. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this comment, Ted. I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like a lot of people buy a lot of stuff, and that stuff just kind of never gets played.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people, so it's kind of hard to agree with this. But I think that, I have a friend who's the complete opposite. He will think very hard about before he buys a game, and he'll play a game that he does buy. He'll play through the whole thing.
I wish I had that kind of discipline.
I mean, I wish I had that kind of discipline, but I don't know what the majority is. So I mean, I'm not in touch enough with like gamers as a whole to really know whether to agree with this or not. But what I will say is, which I didn't think about earlier, is maybe a positive for Game Pass, is I want to say, I don't know for sure, but if they are doing funding, do you know if they fund games as Game Pass? I
believe they do pay something. Yes, I don't know the exact amounts. I think something leaked out there with like Devolver was paid a lot of money.
Yeah, because if there is funding involved, and as long as it's not exclusive, I mean, I feel like maybe it's only a good thing, really, because you can buy any game you get on Game Pass on Steam, or not any game, but like a lot of games, right? So
yeah, for sure.
If it's just there generating money for the games that you love, I mean, that's a positive way to look at it, I suppose. And even if people aren't even really using it, like this user is suggesting that people are buying it as a nice to have thing, I think if people do that, I mean, then it's just a thing generating money for hopefully indies. I mean, it's not just indies, obviously, but just trying to think of a positive way to look at it. But
yeah, and you also can't really fault an indie developer for wanting to go that route if they are being paid to go with Game Pass or something like that.
I just hope that it doesn't become exclusive. That would be when I start to get frustrated with it.
All right, folks, I think that is going to do it for this episode. It was fun getting to chat with you. You had a lot to say today. So your first podcast, now that you got like the nerves out of you, how do you feel about it?
I feel better. Yeah, I definitely feel like I feel sorry for yapping about the same thing and just kind of nostalgia everywhere. It's all over the place. But
you got to rip that Band-Aid off, right? And then from there on, you're going to be fine. All right, everybody, up next week at the channel, we've got a lot of great videos for you. I'm working on a list of indie games that feel like AAA titles, both visually and gameplay-wise. So that should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to uncover some of those with all of you. We, of course, have upcoming indies that should be live for most people right now on Patreon, and everybody else, too, I think. Yeah, everybody should be able to enjoy the latest episode of Upcoming Indies. We had 10 new releases that we highlighted this week. So much more content headed your way. I can't talk about a lot of it. We have Next Fest coverage. Did you want to add something, Ted?
Yeah, do you mind if I talk about the project I mentioned to you the other day?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so working on a new list as well that you should keep an eye out for. I'm hoping to have done in due time. If you're a fan of horror games, or if you're not a fan of horror games as well, I'm working on a list of not so scary horror games that are good for people in both camps. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting concept you came up with. Basically, you're going to highlight horror games for people that don't like maybe like being terrified. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, exactly. So they're still horror games. But as somebody that was never a fan of horror games growing up, I've like recently come into horror games and started really enjoying them through indie games. And I just kind of want to share those experiences with people that maybe are scared of the horror genre because they don't like being scared. But like, these are games that they're going to give you some thrills, and they may be a bit scary, but they're not going to leave you psychologically scarred.
All right, yeah. So horror games for wimps, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can see, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Fair enough. So you can look forward to that list on the channel, all of our other content. And that's going to do it for this episode. Ted, thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you again in a couple weeks on the show. And more content coming from Ted and all of us. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.